Boom. Wait, where'd you go? He got off the camera. Why is he not on the screen?
Oh, bro, because this. Bro, why are we such boomers?
What?
Boomer, RAT-sec boomer confirmed.
Jason's job.
This is Jason's job?
Yes, bro, but he disappears.
E-board confirmed boomer.
True.
I'm not even on board and I'm a boomer already. All right.
We are boom.
Boom.
Boom, boom,
Start
boom.
recording.
I did.
Hit start recording? Okay. I kind of forgot what I was going to talk about now. All right. Good? Okay. Today I'm going to do like a quick tool talk / fire talk on Windows Subsystem for Linux. I did this because I was talking to Enzo about it. He's like, you should do a talk on that like a week ago. And I was like, okay. So I agreed. And so let's, hello? Please change slide. Oh, it's laggy. All right. Who am I? I'm Brayden. I'm a second year CSEC student here at RIT. I'm a lowly blue teamer. That's all I do. I haven't done any black teaming or anything like that. There's some clubs I'm in. I'm swim club, RIT, SEC, and I'm in Formula SAE interests. I'm getting into wireless recently. I love racing, sim racing. If anyone else has an interest in that, talk to me. I'd love to talk to you about that. Swimming, weather, with my whole weather satellite thing. And I like music. Who doesn't like music? All right, enough about that. What is WSL? It's Linux on Windows. Yeah, that's it. So it's a Windows feature. You basically just enable it. It comes with pretty much, I think it comes with every Windows installation. And basically you enable it, you choose your version. It comes with 2 different versions. And you go to the Windows Store and it lists a bunch of distros and you just go, I want that one. So you'll literally go to the Windows Store and it'll say Ubuntu. And you're just like, all right, download Ubuntu. It's pretty cursed if you like never seen it before. So it's like a VM that runs on your Windows machine, but it's extra resource light. It starts in about a second. It uses, I think when I was looking at it, like 100 megabytes of RAM at most. It barely even touches the CPU. And it comes with a lot of really cool features that Microsoft has helped introduce by integrations with things like Docker, VS Code. I've seen some other stuff. So it's something that they're trying to push for developers to use recently. And they're just trying to get a whole new world of development on Windows. So as I said, there's 2 different versions. There was WSL, and then there was WSL2. So WSL was the first one, obviously. It's not really a VM. It's kind of weird. It runs like parallel with Windows, but it runs in like a separate containerized process, but it doesn't use a hypervisor or anything. So it has a simulated file system, and you can go in between the Windows file system and Linux file system pretty easily because of that, because it's actually on the disk. But the only problem is because it's not a full VM, you're not actually simulating the full kernel. So it only supports so many system calls and stuff. Like when I was using it, I know I had trouble with fork. It just didn't work sometimes. And then WS2 came out recently. It's the newer one. It is virtualized, but it's still very lightweight. It has a full, it has the full kernel, the full file system, and it's the one that they're really trying to develop now because it's faster. It has more compatibility. Yeah, so those are the 2. Yeah, it comes with hyper GPU support too as well, which is really cool. So those are the 2 different versions. I use WSL1 because, I don't know, I'm lazy. I've never switched it, I guess. And it hasn't really broken other than the fork thing, so yeah. So let's go over WSL1. How does it work? If it's not really a VM, like, what is it? It sits in between, like, it's in user mode. It uses these things called Pico processes, which they developed for this. As you can see there, it runs in a separate instance as Windows, and there's a bus in between connecting to, so you can actually interact with it. But it will literally you'll run a command, and it will just call syscalls. It like translates in real time, so it can actually use the kernel. I don't know too much about it. All I have is that graphic. As I said, this is like a high-level overview. So, but I think it's pretty cool that it's like it's not really a VM, but it's still running on Windows, and yeah, those are the the bullet points there are kind of what I read from articles, and I was like, yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. But in the end, it's like, it's very abstract on what it's really doing and how it works. And so, yeah, that's an overview of how WSL1 works. WSL2 is pretty much just a super, super lightweight VM. Pretty more, people can't understand how that works. Because of this, you get the whole kernel, you get your own file system you can work on. You can communicate with the file system, but you use a protocol, a wireless protocol, wireless, hello? A networking protocol, 9P, and it does that over like localhost networking. So the file system is really slow on WSL2, but you do get that whole, full kernel compatibility, and you get a lot more of their, they say it's a lot faster for a lot of stuff too because of that. But it's also still really, really resource light. I think it's pretty much the same as WSL1 in terms of resource usage. Wireless protocol, yeah, definitely wireless. So why would you use it? You use it to run code that you want to test on Linux on Windows without having to boot up a whole VM, or maybe you don't have a whole server of VMs and stuff like that. It's very convenient. It's insanely convenient. Like, I have an icon of Ubuntu on my taskbar. I click it, it's up in a second. It starts up in a second or less. Like, you click it and you get a command line instantly. I use it. It has integration with VS Code, so like you can run the back end of VS Code in WSL, and like you see it on your Windows machine. But you're writing everything to the WSL machine, and when you run code, you're running it directly on that. So that's really cool. According to Microsoft, it's for web developers, and I was like, I'm not a web developer. I don't do very much, but I was like, I think that makes sense. Yeah, but it's like also a VM where you can access your Windows file system. So if you have stuff on your Windows machine that you don't want to, like, I don't know, version control, whatever, you have it right there. You can go over, it mounts the C drive right in the file system. So I think that's pretty useful too. How do you get it? You just go to Windows, enable features, click it, go to the Windows Store. Got a bunch of distros right there. It's just like, download it, and you're done. You choose your version with that simple command, WSL set default version 1 or 2. Pick which one you want, whatever one suits what you're doing. And you can actually switch between versions really easy. Like if you just go, hey, I want to use 1 right now, you just run that command and you can use 1. The distros, you do have to convert them if you're going to use them with a different version, but you can have distros for both versions. You can have them for both 1 and 2. For VS Code, you just install an add-on and then you connect to your WSL, and you can literally just open a window in WSL and it works. And once you're in the Linux VM, not VM, the WSL machine, you can just use normal package managers to install whatever you want onto it, and it will install right on. So I know I would just do apt install whatever, like lolcat, just installs right on perfectly. So there's usually not issues when it comes to that type of stuff. So my experiences with it, I used it for CSEC 201 when we were doing C and stuff like that, and pretty much had no issues when it comes to. The two things I really don't recommend using it with is WSL, like, don't use it with sockets or any networking thing. That's not really, it's not good at that. It can get a little weird. With forking and stuff, like, what? With forking and stuff, sometimes that didn't work for me. Like, there's some specific calls. Well, I was also on WSL1. If you're on WSL2, you probably won't have any issues. But in general, like, sometimes stuff doesn't work, so then you need to go to a normal VM or something like that. VS Code it's so clean. It works so well in VS Code. I honestly think I used my WSL more than I used my Windows machine in CSEC 201, and I still use it all the time. Yeah, and the last part, I haven't tried to, RMRF my mounted C drive yet, and some people may be like, oh, well, it'll stop you from doing that. Well, you don't know till you try it. That's all I'm saying. So I would probably delete everything, so don't try it. In conclusion, what most people use this for that I've seen on the internet is they do wacky stuff. People running Minecraft on WSL in Windows. Someone running, that's Wine, right? Yeah, so they were running, a WSL with wine on it because they can. And then people have gotten GUIs to work on it in desktop like environments, but it's really whack and it doesn't work very well. That's not what it's meant for. You can do it, but a lot of people just kind of mess around with it, see what they can get working on it. And I think that's kind of fun. Like, who doesn't want to play Minecraft on virtualized Linux on Windows? Like, that makes sense, you know? All right. Here are the resources. I just linked the stuff that it's mostly Windows documentation because it's great. Questions? Yeah, let me go through the Twitch chat here. That was pretty quick. That was like exactly 10 minutes. Cool. Actually,
I've never used WSL.
What? I'm so
Oh,
happy.
are you on Mac? That's why.
some people.
Windows as well.
I am so happy I've never used WSL. It can go bug off.
You're telling me this presentation didn't.
I'm not saying you have to use it.
Good.
I'm just showing you what it is.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, compare all these.
Compare all of them.
WSL, VM, maybe Docker image potentially.
There's a thing. They have Docker desktop compatibility, like integration with WSL2. I don't know why, but they're like, wow, it's so great. I'm like, okay, I guess. So you can run Docker from Windows on your WSL machine.
That sounds very good.
From my perspective, I think WSL is good for developing code, not necessarily
Yeah, it's
malware.
no.
Because I have run into instances like, for example, the wall command just doesn't work on WSL.
Yeah.
You expect it to.
Certain stuff just doesn't work, and it's kind of running on. If you're using WSL1, it's kind of running on your machine. So don't develop malware on it, because it might break your machine too, your Windows machine. Yeah, it's definitely not as good as a full VM, but it's a good, like, quick and dirty way to test simple stuff. Like, that's what I think it's great for. Don't try to test your big tool on it and be like, oh, it doesn't work on WSL, it won't work on Linux. No, bad idea. Any Twitch chat questions?
Yes. Okay.
WSL is not virtualization, right? I think 2 technically is, but WSL1 is not. So that's the difference.
Is there a Linux subsystem for Windows?
A Linux Yo, just install Linux subsystem for Windows and then keep installing them like back and forth. See how far you can go. That would be cool.
I really want to run the dir command on Ubuntu.
Alias, dummy. I do alias. My bash RC is just aliases. Windows CMD.
Really?
Yes, bro.
Damn, no.
The Windows version.
All right.
LSW within LSWSL. Yeah, do that like 22 times. All right, cool? All right. I'll just stop sharing.
All right.
All you know.
Hook me up.
Jason, the last one. The last.
And then we have the news. Hold on, I gotta tell
The news.
All
We-
right.
We got the news.
Thank you, Brayden, for that presentation. I will be installing WSL.
Which one? 1 or 2?
2.
Okay.
Why?
I
Two.
use 1 because